engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's Monday. It's Monday. It really is. 7 o'clock. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for Reading the Signs, where me, Comedy John Ryan, and my comedian pals from all over the world are going to be talking about comedy, well-being, why we do it, how we cope. And that's where we need your help. We need you to send us your top tips for well-being. Be part of the show. Drop a comment in the box on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the mensradiostation.com website. It's going to be a great show, much better than last week. What we're trying to do is think exceptional, which, funnily enough, is the motto of WJ, our show sponsors. WJ are the UK's leading road marking and highway maintenance company. They're working with us, we're working with you. Let's get to it. So, finally, welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan, where every week we discuss with a comedian what's going on in the world of comedy, life, well-being, everything really, everything and anything. I'm looking very yellowy tonight. That's very strange. How's your week been? I've had a fantastic week, I can't lie. I started the week with an amazing day for a construction company. Talking to 200 men in a car park, which sounds a little bit more suspicious than it probably actually was. But it was interesting to see guys getting back together, trying to reconnect, trying to get back to how it used to be before the world went crazy. Then I did Thursday, did an indoor gig. It's really strange for me because sometimes I do get walls and ceilings. That one had a glass wall down the side, which was very bizarre, because members of the public were walking along and thinking, who are all these people in PPE and why are they suddenly sitting there listening to this bloke? Who is he? Is he someone famous? I also went to the beautiful Horwood House, which was for a rail company. That was quite interesting, men and women at that one. That was very interesting because they had a barbecue afterwards, which I stayed at for 3 or 4 hours. But all of these things in terms of my well-being work this week have had a very consistent and common theme. And that is that a lot of people have really struggled through lockdown and through the whole, whatever you want to call it, has happened for the last 2 years. I did 3 comedy nights as well, which was brilliant. The first one was a small one out in Essex, which was great fun. Thanks to all the guys who came along there in Brentwood. The last night was superb up the road at Cheshunt Country Club. Again, an audience that were really up for it. But Friday night, it was a great, great treat for me to go to Ramsgate, where I had got to spend some time with this guest who's with me tonight, Wilson. All of these things I've done this week have had a lot of things in common and consistent themes through them all. And it seems to me that people are desperate to get out, be entertained, have a bit of a laugh and have a good time. I think now, hopefully, we'll have no more restrictions, but you never know what the Boris man is going to come up with next, really. Let's be honest. We've got no idea what he's going to say or not or whatever. So as we kind of wait to see how things are going to be changing, I guess we've got to think about what we're going to do and what our role is going to be, what we hope for, what we dream of, what we want and what we don't want, and what we're willing to accept. So do have a little listen to us. Put your comments in the box as we go through the evening, and then obviously we can have a little bit of a chat. Tonight's guest, as I say, Wilson Milton, I've known probably for about 8 or 9 years now. He's one of the good guys. Always enjoy working with him. He's always got something interesting to say, and he's always very supportive of other acts, which is very, very rare in this game. It's a very competitive environment that we work in, and so it's nice to meet someone who actually cares about other people. Throughout lockdown, he was one of the people that I spoke to on a fairly regular basis, just to get alternate perspectives and to find out what was going on. So he's always got something to say. He is a very interesting guy. I want you to make him feel very, very welcome. And if you are out there listening, do pop your comments in the box. Let us know that you're there. All that remains to be said is, please, a nice little welcome to the guys up and down the country in the depots, people listening on the mensradiostation.com website or social media outlets or YouTube, wherever you are. Let me introduce you to Wilson. How you doing, mate? Are you good?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good.
It's us. We're here. First of all, I always ask guests, right, what is on the wall behind you? What are we looking at? What are you showing us? Because what you're showing us is a really big clue to who you are. Yeah, what is it?
That is a montage of pictures of basically all the people I love. Okay. Soppy, I know, but
can't see my picture up there, mate. I'm not up there. Going on?
No, I've got another one. I've got a bigger one downstairs. I keep in the lounge where you're on.
Good man. So how you been, mate? What you been up to? Friday night, great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, Friday was good. Yeah, lovely. It was nice to have a show back and have an audience come in, and a lot of them are new to the show, so that was good. Yeah, nice to just be back on stage in my local town. And
was that actually your local bar? Is that where you could be found hanging out during the week?
I'm gonna say yes in case they're listening. That is where I hang out the most.
Brilliant.
No, it's not my local, but it's in the town I live in. So
because you're originally a South London boy, aren't you?
I am. I'm from Crystal Palace originally, so ducking and diving, wheeling and a dealing, mate.
So to some of our listeners in America and Canada, London is divided into two areas, East London and then the other bit. So I was brought up in East London, and we're like vampires, basically. We don't cross moving water, so you'd never go south, never. And it was always funny if you went up to, say, the West End, and you'd meet a girl, got chatting where you're from, and as soon as I said South London, that was it, kiss of death. There's no way you can get, unless you had a car, there's no relationship going to happen between East Londoners and South Londoners on public transport. It's
no one's getting the bus over the river.
It's not. You've got to have something special in your game for that. No, now you're a man who resides by the seaside. Semi-retired by the seaside. Is that what it is?
That's it. I've retired early, mate. I've retired early.
Brilliant. Tell us about the day job.
I'm a carpet fitter. So I've been fitting carpets for 15 years now.
Wow.
Good. Self-employed. So I got, I work 4 shops, but predominantly I'm self-employed. So, and they all kind of understand that I do stand-up as well. So if something comes up last minute, they're quite understanding, and I'll say, look, they know what's more important to me, and that's stand-up.
So stand up is a bit better than a bit of Axminster. Is that? Listen to me,
that's
my
right,
limited knowledge. Because I have for the last 30 years lived in houses with no carpet, and
shocking, John.
Mate, I'm sorry, I've upset you. I can see it in your eyes, but it's always interesting.
You haven't called me to fix it up,
mate. To fix it up. Yeah, and it's always interesting to me that obviously we can have carpet on the stairs, right? We've had no carpet anywhere in our house for the last 8 years because we've been doing it up. But I've always been fascinated with carpet fitters because you're like plumbers. You work in this magical world that because like most men, if you think about it, if the fuse goes, we change the fuse, right? Yeah, I'll do that. But if there's a leak, you're like, oh, I can't touch that. That's beyond my capabilities. I'll paint a wall. I'll do a bit of tiling, but I'm not going to put down carpet. That's specialist. That is. That's like
what's funny, John. The funny thing is, I can fit carpet and a bit of vinyl, but I can't do any other DIY. Like nothing. I can't. Don't ask me to tile, to change a plug. Nothing. I'm useless around the house.
Is it not essentially just? Isn't it just essentially a giant tile, but a giant soft tile?
I don't think it is. No, there's a few more bends. It's a bit bendier than tiles, isn't it? So,
okay. So you're going into people's houses, and then do you judge us when we go? If you come to my house, are you going to judge me? Are you going to go?
Listen, I'm judging you as soon as I pull up on the drive, mate.
The drive.
If,
Where do
if
you
you've
think I
got a
live?
drive, if you haven't got a drive, I've judged you there already.
Mate. And then you come in, and then what do you look for for the pound signs? What puts the price up? Come on.
Well, just general cleanliness, really. So if it's clean and tidy. But you know what? The funny thing is, the clean and tidy places, you don't get a tip from the clean and tidy people.
What is this
you get
with
tips
tips?
from
What is this tip thing? What is that all about? Why? I'm paying you to do a job, mate. Why have I got a tip you?
Well, you don't have to tip other people, but I kind of put the work in to get a tip. I'll ask you about your life and act like I'm interested. I genuinely am interested, to be honest.
Okay.
So I'll delve into what do you do for a living kind of thing, and I'll notice pictures on the wall and ask questions, and next thing you know, I've got them talking about something that they love, and we're getting on like a house on fire, and they feel like they need to give me more than the required amount.
And then the thing is, you have this kind of like whole mysticism where it's all about your underlay, isn't it, mate? You gotta get proper underlay. There's no point. Now you don't want that cheap basic one, right? Why don't they just make the carpets thicker?
They're all thicknesses, John. I mean, you haven't had carpet for 8 years, so you probably don't know this, but there are a lot of different thicknesses.
Has it moved on? Has it evolved?
It's moved on. And by the way, if you're saying your house has been getting renovated for 8 years, that's not really renovating, is it? That's just an excuse now.
That's just like just taking my time, mate. That's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like
you're slowly dismantling the house, aren't you?
Yeah. That's basically what's happened. I've knocked down walls, lifted up floors, all that kind of stuff. If anyone's just joined us, welcome along to Reading the Signs. Where this week we're talking about carpets. Forget mental health and comedy and all that. Given that we are sponsored by Britain's leading road markers, that's WJ. They're probably going to go, when are you going to talk about tarmac, mate? Tarmac, not carpeting. What was you doing before you started doing comedy, though?
I was fitting carpet.
Have you always done it? When you left school, was that your dream?
No, I had very low ambitions when I left school. I left school and I said, one day I'm going to work in Safeway supermarket.
Mate, right. So the other store, the other big posh middle class supermarket, begins with a W. What's it called?
Am I allowed to say it?
Yeah, you can say it. Yeah. What's it called?
Waitrose.
Waitrose. Okay. We have this Waitrose because no, it's just that so many people call it Waitrose. I'm like, why is it Waitrose? Where's that come from? It's not Waitrose, Waitrose, isn't it? Waitrose.
Yeah.
So when you was at school, what was it you wanted to do? What was your dream?
I wanted to get into acting, if I'm honest with you. So I done drama at school, and then I left school, went to college, and done performing arts.
Okay.
And
wow.
Then I was.
Can you sing and all that? Can you belt out a tune?
No, I cannot. Do you know? Nothing scares me more than singing in front of people. I can't. I do all of this stand up, and the other night I went after the gig that you came and done for me. Mm-hmm. I went down to the karaoke bar with my dad and my mate.
Where's my invite? I would have been there. me and a little bit of Drifters. I'll be all over that.
I can't think of anything scarier than singing on the karaoke in front of a pub full of people. It scares the living daylights out of me.
I went to America and went to a karaoke bar, and it's in the middle of nowhere, so not a very touristy place. And my friend thought it was funny to put my name down for karaoke. Packed bar full of just Americans being American. And then the guy says, "Okay, next up we got John Ryan from London. John, you there, John?" And I looked around and he's at the table, ha ha ha, got you, kind of thing. So I went on stage. He'd picked "Living on a Prayer," but I'd explained to the sound man that's not my song. And I then went to the microphone and said, "How you doing? My name's John Ryan. I'm from London. I love America." And they went, "Why?" I said, "We fight terrorism on the battlefield, side by side. Tonight, I want us to stand side by side and sing and celebrate life and celebrate our special friendship." Then I sang "Like a Virgin" by Madonna. And half of the people in the room were like, "What is he doing?" And I thought this is brilliant. When I went and sat at the table again, my mate was like, "No, man, people won't get your sense of humor here. Okay, it's just not funny. It's just they don't do. We don't do that kind of thing, man. You know." Apparently, while I was singing, he was saying to people, "He's from England. Okay, give him a break. Give him a break." Brilliant. Love it, karaoke. Love it. So, so what about dancing? Did you learn to dance at stage school?
Yeah. I picked up a bit of dancing. Yeah. Being from South London, you got to have a bit of dancing.
That's not dancing in South London. Spinning on your head. That's not dancing, is it?
No, not break dancing.
That's a sign of mental unwellness. That is spinning. We had a dog that did that. He used to run around and chase his tail. If you put like a baseball cap on him and boots, he could have been a break dancer.
If you'd have done that now, he could have gone viral. He could have been a star.
Mate, start me on that. So, what made you decide to start doing comedy? What was the thing?
Basically, I've always been funny-ish. Okay. And when I was in school, like every single parents' evening would be, if he wasn't the class clown, he'd be a very bright boy. Yeah. So I was that sort of class clown. And then I used to go around. I got a close mate of mine called Tommy Armstrong. And I used to go around his house and we'd just be pinging one-liner jokes off of each other continuously on the sofa. And he lived in Forest Hill in South London. And then one day I saw a sign outside a pub called The Hob in Forest Hill. You know The Hob?
Yeah. Is that East Dulwich? Is that East Dulwich?
Yeah, Forest Hill, East Dulwich, yeah. And it said New Act Night. And if I go back to while I was in college, we done one of the segments of the course was comedy, and the teacher said about stand-up comedy, and he said, basically how it works is you'd go to a pub or a club and they would give you 5 minutes of stage time, and if you were funny, they'd ask you to come back and they might pay you. And when he said that when I was in college, when I was about 17, it stuck in my mind, and I thought, one day I would like to do that kind of. So it was just in the back of my mind. And then I saw that sign when I was 25 outside the pub, said New Act Night. So I said to my mate, let's go along and have a look and see what these new acts are all about. Yeah. See if we feel like doing it ourselves. So we went along, obviously knowing nothing about the scene. We watched and they were all new, obviously, and they were all rubbish. So we got filled with confidence, said, all right, yeah, we can do better than that. So we signed up individually for a month later, and we both had to do 7 minutes. So I went back and done our 7 minutes, and we were both rubbish as well. But from that, there was like a couple of little jokes that got giggles, maybe. I thought, there's something there, and I keep that and I work on that, and that was how I got into it. And then the first 2 were terrible, no laughter. And then the 3rd gig I done, I just struck luck, and I got laughs, like proper laughs. And I went home to my dad, who's a all-out hippie, and I said to him, "You met him on Friday, didn't you?"
Met him on Friday, yeah, good man. Yeah.
And I said to him, "Listen, there are no drugs that will give you the feeling that I just got tonight after that gig." And that was it. That was it. I was hooked, and that was 10 years ago now.
And what happened to Tommy Armstrong? That's the most South London name I've ever heard. Tommy Armstrong, South London.
He's still going.
How long did he get? Well, he's doing a stretch. He's got to be locked up somewhere. It's got to be. Tommy Armstrong. Honestly, that's like straight out of Lockstock. You've made that name up, mate. Bobby Hoskins. Tommy Armstrong. So then you just... So after your first gig, your first couple of gigs, 2-3 gigs, when did you start thinking, actually, I can do this and get paid?
Yeah, I don't know when I don't know. There wasn't a conscious moment when I thought I could do this and get paid. I just loved doing it. I wasn't thinking about money. I just think I love doing this. So I was just...
And of course, your knees love it as well, don't they? Because carpet fitters, your knees, you've got to have dodgy knees by now after 15 years.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I have to have a bandage on one of them every time I'm at work, just to hold it. It's got like loose bits in it, like.
But don't you get them adverts? Look, your Facebook page is now going to get filled with adverts for them knee stockings that old ladies used to wear. You'll get adverts for that now. I'm surprised Tommy Armstrong hasn't invented something Some knee, Tommy Armstrong's knee supports. Be strong like Tom. Something like that. Tell him.
Fixes your knees after he's done them in.
There you go. Yeah, brilliant. But do you not wear like knee pads? Do you not have to have like big cricket pads?
Yeah, I do wear knee pads. If I'm on the hard floor, I wear the knee pads. But at the beginning, I was too tough for knee pads. You know what I mean? When I first started, I was 19. I was like, I don't need knee pads, and then I got swollen knees, and now I have to have them on. Yeah,
it's a sad story. It's a terrible tale. It made a great film. Coming soon this fall. It's Wilson's knees. Sorry, I get fixated with jobs. I had a chimney sweep come round last week, and I had to physically be messaged to leave him alone. So I just felt like, what are you doing? I could do that. Let me have a go at that. Where'd you get the brushes from? And is that what you do? Just put a stick together and pop it up. And I was really upset because he just turned up to sweep my chimney, just on his own with a hoover. And no, like, loads of little street urchins and no chimney, nothing. Just him and a hoover.
A hoover.
My little Henry was sitting in the corner with just vexed, like you brought another woman home. Henry was like that. Well, he's got this big shiny new hoover with his brushes with her. And when he's finished, I said, "You're not going to do a little dance or anything?" He went, "Everyone says that." Yeah, but then it's good. And then so you started doing stand-up, and then when did you start traveling around the country?
So I didn't really know much about it for about 6 months. I was kind of just, I don't know, doing the same gig over and over again in the Cavendish Arms, in Stockwell, which is a new act.
Again,
night.
South London, mate, south of the river.
Yeah,
yeah,
and and then someone told me that like the way to progress was to do like professional gigs, do the open spot on professional gigs. So I had to get on Facebook and start looking up proper gigs that were going on and applying for them and lying about my abilities to get the spots, and doing that. And then I put my own gig on about a year in. I had no idea what I was doing, but just found a pub, started running a show and booking acts that I knew so far on the circuit.
Okay.
And that went reasonably well, to be fair, considering I had no idea what I was doing. Me and Tommy would do kind of like a double act hosting.
Oh, my days. Well, you told the jokes, you just went around, go to people, laugh. This could be the future of comedy, having a gag enforcer. Want to hear a chuckle? Right? We'll go like that. It's a chuckle.
Yeah.
And then how did you cope then when you had a bad gig? How did you cope with that?
Bad gigs. Do you know, it takes ages of gigging to realize that sometimes the bad gig had nothing to do with you. It was like, it wasn't even a gig of sort, because like sometimes you'd go into places and it'd be in like the main room of a pub and no one even knows that there's comedy happening that night. There's geezers that have gone in there for a drink and there's a dog in there, and no one's expecting you to be on. Next thing you know, you're trying to tell jokes and you're kind of ruining everyone's evening. Yeah. So you go home. I used to go home and just think I was shit. Oh, sorry. Sorry about the language. Yeah, I used to think I was terrible. And then it's not until like 5-6 years later you look back and you go, oh, that had nothing to do with me. That was a terrible, terrible setup that should never have happened.
I once went, when I was a new act, I went to a pub in Hoxton in North London. And when I got there, there's about 40 people in this bar. And the promoter said, when do you want to go on? And I said, when there's not a funeral. What do you mean? Went, these people are here. They've buried their mum, mate. They're here to have a drink. Right? And the thing is that because of the nature of comedy, like, yeah, but they want to laugh, don't they? They want cheering up. I went, no, they won't want cheering. What they want is to be left alone. But no. Like, I tell you what, you can close the first half, right? And I went, okay, we'll see how it goes. And then he went on and got ignored. Then the first act went on, and then the next act wouldn't go on. And then the following act kind of went on, started talking, was very, very new, got nothing. So then I went on and said, can I just say to people at the bar, I'm really sorry to hear about what's happened to your mum, mate. Just celebrate her and cherish life. Thank you. And I came off. And one of the people who was in the funeral thing, he said, I've been coming here every month for the last 6 months. You're the best person I've seen on that stage. I just remember thinking, mate, I'm not sure that I should even be doing this. But so would you ever?
Oh, what's happened? Are you there? Oh,
I got for some reason we had a little drop out, a little signal drop, but we're back.
yeah.
Take it to heart if you had a bad gig.
Say again.
Would you ever take it to heart if you had a bad gig?
Not really. No, I don't. Not anymore. I can kind of analyze what's happened. I don't. One thing I do is if I have a bad gig, I don't really. I just work out what went wrong. You know, like I had a couple of years ago. I'd done a lot of gigs up north, and I hadn't done really many gigs up north. So I was going up to like Manchester and Yorkshire and Leeds and whatnot, and I was coming back after the first few times, and I was just driving back because it'd gone okay, but it wasn't great, you know.
Yeah,
And I was thinking to myself, what is wrong here? Why is this not flying like it normally does? And I realized that I was approaching the gig like I was still in the South. I hadn't worked out that they don't really like Southerners that much. They've already got a like when I pull up on your drive to fit your carpet and prejudge you, they were already prejudging me because I was a Southerner kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when I went back the next time, I made sure I belittled myself quite a bit and took the mick out of Southerners and sort of got them on side first, and then jumped into my material, and that seemed to go a lot better. I mean, one of the things I came up with was I was just walking. This is a gig in Saddleworth in Manchester.
Wow.
And
Oldham.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I was walking down from the station. It was genuine, and there was like it was I don't know winter, so there was like people burning coal in their fireplaces, and there were low roofs, and I could smell the coal burning. So when I got to the gig, I said, "Oh, it was lovely walking down from the station. I could smell like the coal burning in the fireplaces and that, and really nice. It was sort of felt like the old days." And they started giggling already, and I said, "We've got fireplaces in the South." I said, "We do use fireplaces, but we can't get coal anywhere. So we've had to start burning money."
Oh, brilliant.
But I got him on side. One of the best gigs I've ever had, to be honest with you.
See, for me, because I can do accents, so that would be a great help. I remember doing a Frog and Bucket in Manchester once, and they introduced me, and the compere hadn't met me, and he said, "This guy's come over from Ireland." So I did the whole gig like, you know, it's really great to be here. And Manchester isn't it a great town, isn't it? And you've got everywhere else has got like spaceships and helicopters, and you've got a tram. And then got a big laugh, and then said, "Look, I can't keep this up all night. I'm from London." And I was like, "Ooh." But I had that to fall back on. So I knew, because I went to university in Manchester, I knew about this north-south divide. For people listening in other countries, you have to understand that apart from like in London, North London's not too keen on South London. Londoners not too keen on Liverpool. Liverpool's not too keen on Manchester. The North don't really like the South. The why we've basically, this country's gone around the world invading everyone to stop us fighting each other. That's my theory on it. Let me just quickly thank people who are listening. Anyone who's listening to us in the depots or listening to us online at the moment or later in the week or in the future. Tell us, how did the future work out? I'm John Ryan, and this is Reading the Signs on Men's Radio Station, sponsored by WJ, the UK's leading road marking company. I'm talking to comedian Wilson Milton, who's also a carpet layer. How exciting is that? So if anyone needs any carpets doing, Wilson's your man. I want to just, before we move on, we've lost a few people from the comedy circuit over the last couple of weeks. And it's just a real timely reminder for any comedians that are listening, any comedians are out there, that, you know, we are a fragile lot, and life does throw a lot of challenges at it. So please do, if you're worried about anything, get yourself checked out at the doctors. Do go and seek help. I also want to just quick mention to my mate Big Colin, who passed away this week. He was 81. I had many a beer with him all over the world. He used to play for Leyton Orient, and I only knew this about 3 years after I knew him, for some bizarre reason. He, like I say, passed away on Tuesday. So thoughts to Colin and Mel and the family while they're out there. So Wilson, mate, this is what I wanted to get onto. As comedians, right, we think we go around making other people laugh, and we go around bringing joy to people, as it were. But what makes us laugh? What does it for you?
What makes me laugh? Do you know, I'm pretty simple, really. I'm really childish. I got a really childish sense of humor, really. Like just silly. I like silly comics. Like Tommy Cooper makes me laugh. You know,
Brilliant.
it's just
Brilliant.
brings out the child in you. You know, as soon as you can just forget about everything and you're just giggling at stupidity, I'm happy.
See, for me, I loved a guy called Jimmy Cricket when I was growing up. He was this Irish comedian with wellies. Whenever Irish comics were on the telly, we'd all have to watch the telly. And Dave Allen and Billy Connolly. And I wasn't brought up on the kind of Eddie Izzards, them kind of people, and Lee Evans, and even like Jim Davis and them comics. They was always on in our house. Obviously, this was the days before we realised it wasn't politically correct, blah, 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 blah. But do you know what I mean? Like the Bernard Mannings or them kind of people. So because I'm from that world, I found it very difficult when I first started doing comedy, and occasionally still do. It's a lot easier for me now because I'm a bit older. But when I first started, you know, I was like 11 and a half stone, played football, had a shaved head, wore jeans and a T-shirt on stage. And straight away, if people said, oh, who's your favourite comedian? And I'd say Jimmy Cricket. They'd go, yeah, I thought it would be. Because they were like Bill Hicks now. I'd never heard of Bill Hicks. I didn't know about this world.
Yeah.
But I like silly. Tommy Cooper, just brilliant. I love silly jokes. But the comedy world is a very difficult place. People think we must all be laughing and joking all the time. But there's sometimes places that are no more miserable than doing a road trip with other performers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I've always tried to avoid them.
The road trips.
Okay, I see you there, mate. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've had many a car offer, and I say no. I'll drive there. I'm all right.
I've got my van. Yeah. Got my van, mate. Got me carpet on.
I could fit everyone in my van, but I pretend I've only got one seat.
But it's the thing, though. How then do you do that? Like, how do you keep relationships going? How do you keep the social life? What's the clue
there? It's a tricky one, to be honest. But luckily, my missus is a stand-up as well, so she kind of understands that for that side of it. Yeah, she knows the ins and outs of it, and that it's predominantly weekend. I mean, she comes with me a lot of the time.
Yeah,
if she's not gigging, she'll come with me. Sometimes.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. Yeah, no, I've noticed that she's very supportive. And seeing her on Friday, you just say, you can just see that's. For a civilian, as it were, to be in a relationship with a comedian, it's got to be really difficult because you miss parties, birthdays, weddings.
Yeah. I miss funerals that I wanted to go to, but at that time, you know, the gig I was doing was an important one, if you could call it that, compared to what the funeral was.
Well, it's what you would have wanted, isn't it? It's what you would have wanted. Well, if you want to go to a funeral, there's a pub in Oxton. They always have always have a crowd in. It's again interesting though that you know, you're upbeat. You always seem upbeat to me. I remember the first time seeing you gig out of London when we were in Derby, and you just smashed it. And
that's a good gig. I remember.
Yeah, and you seemed genuinely surprised at how well it went. I think you actually said to the audience a couple of times, "It's getting a lot better than I thought it would." But that self-depreciating thing,
you know, you say you do accents and stuff. So I don't know. You've obviously seen my act. So I do quite often. I do accents as well. So I do a Chinese accent and a Jamaican accent, but obviously there's a context to it. So I'm allowed to do it, and I make a point of spelling out why I'm allowed to do it. And sometimes being in today's climate, you just don't know how the audience is going to react to it. So sometimes I do say after it's gone well, I'll say, sometimes I can get a little bit tense, and I'll make a point of saying, didn't expect that to go to go that well.
It is very it's very strange. I remember once a gig in Balham, Banana, and I did a story about my dad and just about how I'd been a bit drunk and I'd got changed and I'd got to get my pants off and take my t-shirt off at the same time and fell over and ended up with like pants over my head, t-shirt, my leg in the arm, and my dad going, "What are you doing?" Like it needed an explanation kind of thing. And kind of audience laughed at the setup and the rest of it because it was always this, "What are you doing?" This when I was a kid, everyone laughed, and this one bloke went, that's racist. And I said, "What?" He goes, "That's racist. You're making your dad sound like stupid, and then that reinforces the stereotype of Irish people." And the audience kind of were like, "No, shut up." I went, No, listen, the man's got a point. Sorry, my friend, what are you saying?" He goes, "Well, I'm from an Irish family. You're making Irish people sound like this stupid." And I said, "Okay, well, let's try that again. But I won't make my dad Irish. Would that work for you?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Okay." So I said, "So I'll tell them." And I've landed on the floor, and then the bedroom doors open, and my dad's come in, and he's gone, "What are you doing?" And the place just cracked up. It just cracked up even more. And this bloke got up and walked out. He's got up and walked out. I'm like, I said to the rest of the room, "I think I might keep my dad's Nigerian from now on." But then afterwards, the guy who runs it, Dave, I think it was, that's very funny, but you don't do that out of context, mate. You will get enough. You get so much grief. It would just not. It won't end well. But that was the thing on Friday at your gig. If you think some of the stuff I was saying, because it's in context, those people from Belfast, they're from the complete opposite community to my family, and yet we come together to laugh with, not at, right? But when I'm talking about setting bins on fire and pushing them down the street, that was not. If I tell anyone else that, they won't even find it even slightly amusing. But those people, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
and I'm belittling. Do you understand? It's that thing of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said about doing the Chinese voice or the whatever voice. I think it's all contextual, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And where I'm from as well, like the same as East London now, it's so multicultural. Like there's all nationalities and races, and so you can't help but pick stuff up about them. So you're not just doing it out of the blue. You actually have noticed stuff about other cultures, and you commenting
you observe
on
it and you see it. Yeah, well, I mean, I live in Essex now, so
So you got a lot of stuff on orange material.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, everyone being orange. And it is just it does interest me, that whole kind of diversity and how to be inclusive. Part of being inclusive has to be taking the mick out of each other.
Yeah, for sure. Which is the opposite to what society is trying to make us do. They're trying to make us not. So the social acceptable thing would be for me to not talk about any other cultures, which is actually excluding them from the comedy.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite to what we should be doing, right? Inclusive is discussing everybody, right?
Yeah, depending on what gig I'm at. Like last night, I did 5 proper old pub jokes, but I prefaced them by saying this is now considered offensive, and then I'd do the joke, right?
Yeah.
But the joke would be, I mean, for example, one of my favorite jokes ever is a guy goes to the doctor, and the doctor said, "What's the matter?" And he says, "Well, I just don't feel right." The doctor says, "Okay, can you go and stand, look out the window, put your thumb on your nose, wiggle your fingers, and stick your tongue out?" The bloke says, "Okay, did it." Goes, "How does it help my diagnosis?" And the doctor says, "It doesn't. I just don't like the bloke across the road." Right. So that's just pure silly, right? That's just pure silly.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And I said then afterwards, I go, "No, you can't do that anymore because that presumes that the guy's able-bodied. And also, it's also suggesting that doctors don't care about their work. And then it's undermining the credibility, professionalism of the medical profession." And again, that got a laugh and a clap. But it's harder to weave around stuff and get away with stuff.
It is, you know what? But because it's harder, it makes it all the more satisfying when you can weave around it and you do get the laugh. Then you really feel like you worked for it,
Yeah, I see that. So how did you cope with that, having an audience to go in front of? Did you work through lockdown?
Yeah, I worked the first lockdown when everything was shut. So I done March to July there was no work at all. So I was just looking at conspiracy theories for months and months and researching. Well, they're not even conspiracy theories anymore. They're the truth. They've all come to fruition. But yes, I wasn't really doing any work until July, and then I went back to fitting carpet, and yeah, only recently though, this last year, the gigs have started coming back thick and fast.
But were you able to go into people's houses?
Yeah, and even then I would start discussing what was going on with them on the job. One woman, I started saying, "So, what do you think about what's going on? What are your thoughts on COVID?" And it's nice when you find one that questions the narrative as like I do. But one woman, she said to me, "So, are you one of these conspiracy theorists then?" And I said, "Look, let's be honest. If there was a deadly pandemic around, you wouldn't have invited me into your house to fit your carpet, would you?" And she said, "No."
Yeah, but hang on. So where was this conversation? Was this in London?
This was in Kent somewhere, in like Maidstone area.
If there was a pandemic going on and there was a highly contagious disease and you were cheap enough, I'd have you in. That's a British thing. Do you not remember the BSE crisis with the beef? And we were told if you eat the beef, you're going to die, all right? And then it went down to £1 for a steak, and everyone was like, "I'll take my chances. £1 for a steak." Do you know what I mean? The height of the pandemic, carpet £1 a square metre. I'll be like, "Own the windows. Just hold your breath. Put lavender and garlic on you, something like that. Ward off the evil spirits." So then, because throughout we'll if we can use the term pandemic, right?
Yeah.
If you just accept that to describe that period in time, pandemia, right?
Yeah.
You were for me, you were the voice of reasonable. I don't want to say conspiracists, alternate thinkers. Can we use that phrase? Is that right?
Yeah.
Right, reasonable alternate thinkers. Because the amount of times I would get like a message from someone, and then I'd email you and go, "Can you explain this to me?" Because I really genuinely wanted to know. And to be fair to you, you were always very reasonable and wouldn't go, "Well, watch this lecture. It's only 4 hours long it's in Chinese with Arabic and Italian subtitles." Right? But if
you're not willing to watch Shank for 4 hours, John, then you know,
mate,
how do you expect to find the truth?
Look, right, I struggle to watch 90 minutes of a football match. I can normally just about concentrate on the instructions on the aeroplane in case of an emergency. The exits are here, and here. I'm like, "Yeah, I know you're trying to save my life, love. Can you just get on with it?" You know what I mean? I'm busy trying to read a menu here. But what I did was I printed out when people would send me stuff. I'd print out what they sent me, and I'd have them on the wall. And we have a shared office, me and Tasha. So she would very often take it down and go, "What is this?" And one guy, he sent me a really thought through. He detailed how society was going to break down. This was in April last year. So by now we're all meant to be naked, living in caves, going to the soup kitchen to have it doled out by Chinese kitchen staff, guarded by American GIs. It's a strange thing, isn't it? Because the alternative world of theories, you all get lumped in it together, don't you?
We do, yeah. There are people that I hear say things, and I think, no, you've lost it, mate. You've gone way too far. But predominantly, what's going on is there's a massive group of society that doesn't believe anything unless it's been on the TV.
Yeah.
That's the main problem that I think is happening. So I've shared government websites for people, NHS websites with information on, and they've gone, "Nah, that's a conspiracy."
Yeah.
No, that's the actual government website.
But isn't it strange how the very people who are promoting this kind of controlled hypothesis, you also use them as a reference for, but the people you're listening, but the people you're listening to are saying this.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm always saying that they're lying, and then, but I know that the person I'm speaking to doesn't think they're lying. So then I'll share information from the people that I'm saying are lying. It's a backwards world going on at the moment.
Well, it is strange. I remember going away in about 2004, which is when I first, because I used to always kind of like when I was a kid, I couldn't understand how we put a man on the moon. I still struggle to understand how. Right?
I
Like,
still don't believe it.
well, yeah, I do have difficulty, shall we say? However, and then starting to do comedy because comics tend to be people who think slightly alternatively and have slightly different ways of coming at it. And so I was with this American comedian who introduced me to this talk show host called Alex Jones, who was Alex Jones, who was hilarious. And I listened to him every week for about 3 months, thinking he was a character, thinking it was like the day to day. Remember the day to day? And he was like, don't drink the water. The water has come from Mars.
They're eating your body parts. They're eating kids.
That's it. Exactly. And then he obviously famously said he'd made it all up and he'd been having a really tough time mentally and didn't really help. Yeah, he did. He was. I'll send you some stuff. It's quite funny to read because he was going to get his arse sued because he said Sandy Hook never happened. So he then went, I was having a tough time and
yeah.
So it's interesting then how there's something called validation bias. It's a psychological phenomenon whereby you believe something and nothing's going to change your mind. You can show me all the evidence in the world. I just don't believe it. I'm not having it. Won't believe it.
Yeah.
And the thing that's happened with this pandemia is that people have now fallen into two camps. Those who believe there is something, COVID is real and it's killing people, and we therefore need to protect ourselves, and those who don't. And then within those fields, you've got people like myself who think, well, there is something out there, right? There is something causing a lot of problems, and I've got no idea which way or whatever, right? But it's this whole thing of, one of the things I like about you and our friendship is that I can ask you something and you will go, oh, you're just a dickhead, just watching mainstream media and, and it's so hard to get a reasoned conversation with it. Back in when I was growing up, people who were experiencing real bad mental health problems, you'd see them in the street walking up and down in their pants, singing Batman, right? But now it's reasonable people whose thought processes, it's like we've lost the ability to listen.
Yeah. Do you know that the online is impossible having a debate online or via writing? Like no one's listening to commenting on Facebook. No one's taking notice of anyone else's comments. But when I go to work again, so I speak to different customers every day, and then some of them had no idea about the stuff I was telling them. But then because they are right in front of me and they can feel the vibe I'm giving off, and they go, oh, well, we were getting on, we were having a laugh. He seems like a reasonable bloke.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in this. At one point, I had these newspapers called the Light paper.
Yeah.
And it's an alternative newspaper printed out, and there's about 300,000 copies going around the UK at the moment. So I used to give them out to some customers after we'd had a little chat and stuff, and they'd be really grateful and thankful. And they were clearly listening to me, and I was listening to them, and we were having a normal discussion. I had a fascinating customer the other day. He was a clinical scientist, and his wife was a doctor. But on his front door, it had this big notice about Jesus, the Lord, and Christianity. Yeah. So I said, so what do you believe? Do you believe in the Big Bang, or do you believe in Adam and Eve? And he said, well, the Big Bang is just a theory. So I believe in Adam and Eve.
Brilliant.
That's amazing, because it was usually religion against science, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he was both. He was a scientist and he was religious. And then we had this discussion about COVID, and it went on for about 2 hours. But we were both smiling and we were both laughing. He was complete opposite to me.
But were you on your knees on a freshly laid carpet? Was it like being in a mosque? Was it like that? You were there just going. But do you see, like what you're saying there? But because you are able to listen and reason, right? Yeah. I just give up. I don't really tolerate people who are just angry and overly passionate when you go, hang on, let's just get back to something here. So I was brought up in a very religious family. I can debate theology for days with people and quote scripture and all that sort of stuff. And I can do it. But then what happens is people go, but you must have believed it at some stage. I mean, if you went to get fed in my house, mate, you had to learn that. I was an auto server, mate. You had to learn that stuff, right? And I'm not knocking people who have faith. If you've got faith, that's your business. Good luck to you, okay? But it just seems to me that throughout this whole kind of pandemic and all the rest of it, it's about how it's affected people mentally. And it's about how it's affected you then mentally, because if you're not working, and there's no gigs.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
what do you do? What was your coping strategy?
Do you know? I struggled a bit myself, to be honest with you. I had a moment. I was like, so I was just continuously. I thought this pandemic was. I still do. It's the means to a new society that isn't in our best interests, right?
Okay.
So I was continuously looking and searching and trying to find out what the next step of the plan was, so that I could try and avoid it, I guess. And I was just knee deep into that. But I had to take a step back, because at one point I went over to my local shop, just the corner shop, and I was going to buy some washing powder. So I had this tub of washing powder in my hand, and I'd never worn a mask. I just don't like. There's many a study says they don't work, so I don't wear one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've gone in there, and I've been going in there all the time, no problems without the mask. This particular time, I get to the counter and I got the mask. I haven't got the mask, but I've got the washing powder in my hand. And the guy in the shop said, "Listen, I'm sorry, but from now on, you're gonna have to wear a mask, because some people were saying they're gonna stop shopping in here if they see people without a mask."
Wow.
And I wish I'd have dealt with it better, but I was obviously struggling. So I said, "I'll tell you what, mate, I'll go somewhere else." And I took the washing powder and I launched it against the wall, and it just it smashed all over the shop. And then he just started chasing me out of the shop, right? So at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know why I've done this, but I've got to get away, because this man wants to kick the crap out of me, right? So I'm running up the road, and this is before I started exercising recently. This is the main reason. So I'm running up the road, and I'm thinking I must be getting away from the guy. And I turn around, this old, like, he's like 50 something, overweight Indian guy, and he's catching me up. And I just thought, this is bad. But I was going too fast for my own body, because I hadn't run for so long, and I fell over in the street. And as I'm getting up, he's swinging a punch for me. Right, so I ducked the punch and got out of the way. But as that happened, I just thought, this is not a good position to be in. What is going on here?
No. But
and
why was he so upset? Because it's not like the washing powder is going to stain.
He just thought it was very bold of me.
Hey! So I mean, I always ask people, what is their top tip then for kind of well-being? Would yours be, don't throw washing powder? If you're going to open your mouth, learn to run. What are we looking at?
That's a good one, yeah. To be honest with you, yeah. Do you know what though? So that was like a moment where I just stepped back and said, "All right, I think you've gone a bit too far now." And I started. First of all, I stopped smoking. I stopped smoking in February just gone. And then from there, I started exercising a little bit after that. I wanted to be able to run 5 miles. I was so unfit, as you can tell from that story.
Yeah.
And then just run on a regular basis. Started watching a guy called David Goggins on YouTube. Have you heard of David Goggins?
Yeah.
He's a motivational kind of guy, ex-Marine. And then within 3 weeks, I ran 5 miles without stopping, and started doing press-ups and pull-ups and getting more fit. And I gave up other stuff. So I gave up caffeine, stopped drinking as well. And I started getting addicted to giving stuff up, if I'm honest.
Okay.
But the main thing that got me mentally stronger was the exercise. So the more I improved my physical health, the more my mind improved. That was the main thing that happened to me.
I like that. And did you go back to the shop and apologize and pay for the?
Yeah, I did. And I said, I was sorry about the other day. I don't know what happened. I just lost it.
My cat died. I'm really sorry. My cat died.
my dog ate my homework, and yeah, and he was cool. It was fine, and I still didn't wear a mask, and he didn't mind.
Mate, what a great ending, mate. I could talk to you all day. Have you got any gigs coming up, or anywhere that people could see you or hear more of your stuff or learn a bit about you?
You can go and check me out on YouTube, Wilson the Comedian. I've got a YouTube channel.
All right.
I've got what have I got?
So if I could just say, anyone listening on Facebook Live tonight, we've not been able to see your comments because we're doing this just stream through a page. So normal services will be resumed next week. But for tonight, I do apologise to Dawn and Big Steve and Pat, Dave, anyone else who's been out there listening. Wilson the Comedian on YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. Wilson's Jokes on Instagram. You can follow me on there.
Okay.
Get some gigs. I'll put my gigs up on there.
Brilliant. That's really good, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Yeah, I just really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks ever so much for your support during lockdown. Because joking aside, having someone who can give me an alternate theory and give me an explanation of stuff, don't underestimate that, and people shouldn't be scared to seek advice and answers from people who think differently. Yeah. But do take care, man, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Nice one. Thank you very much, man. I've enjoyed it.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks. So that was Wilson Milton. Just a very, very funny guy, nice guy with good sound advice about sorting out your physical health. Because as we know, physical health is linked to mental health. It's like when you see these old World War II films and they're bombing all over Europe. You forget someone had to put them bombs on the plane. You forget someone had to make the munitions in the factory. There's no kind of air power without ground power, is the saying in the RAF. Our physical health and our mental health, very, very linked. You are what you eat. As Wilson said, he's cut out caffeine and alcohol, stopped smoking. And I've got to be honest, when I saw him on Friday, he looked years younger. So it's clearly something that we could all probably think about doing. Over the weeks, we've collected tips from various comics and performers, and everyone's got their own little ways of doing it. I'm still struggling, though, with Jen Brister's idea of go swimming in cold water. That and Danny Postel, who said take cold showers. They're the only two that I'm kind of struggling with. Steve Gribbin, of course, if you remember, had a great idea of don't be too hard on yourself. Sol last week, Sol Bernstein, battle it out. Your life isn't easy. Sometimes you just got to take it and keep going. And he was very honest about his attempts on his thoughts about taking his own life. So he was coming from a real good place. Philip Simon, stubbornness will help you stick to a task. Dave Sleet, the psychologist, he said, be the difference. Try and make a difference to other people. Marcus, of course, his top tips were great. Yoga and eat well, fitting in with what Wilson was saying. We've had loads of people who've come up with really, really good suggestions. I want you to just think about yourself, put yourself first. My tips, always try and reframe unhelpful thoughts. There's a voice in your head, you don't have to listen to it. You know, it's that voice in your head that goes, I want a cake. Don't listen to that voice. Listen to the other one. Not the other one that goes, take 2 cakes. Try to reframe any unhelpful thoughts at all. And just try and be in the present. Enjoy the moment. We got up this morning and decided to go and watch a street graffiti festival. Now, we're both middle-aged people, me and Tash, and just thought, come on then, it's different. It'll be something we've not done before. We went up to London and there was performance poetry, which is not something I've ever really understood or had a lot of time for. But we then kind of wandered around and just watched the world going past. Getting a good night's sleep, always great if you can. I know that other people can't. But one of the most important things is connect with others. If you've not heard from a mate in a while, drop them a line, especially for the lads on here that listen. It's really easy to just fall by the wayside and forget mates. So reconnect. You've got a mobile phone. Give them a call, send them a text, write them a little message. We don't have to fight this battle of life on our own. So that's kind of the end of this week's show. Once again, thanks to WJ, the UK's leading road marking specialists. They're really supportive. They've been really, really good. Thanks to everyone that I saw this week. Have a great week. Well, that's the end of another episode of Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. talking with comedians about mental wellness, mental well-being, and just trying to get the conversation going. What we're trying to do is show that it's good to talk, and we're also trying to show that everybody can go through the same experiences. A massive thank you to the WJ Group who sponsored the show, showing their commitment not just to mental well-being, but also to reaching as broad an audience as possible. It's great to be part of the mensradiostation.com family, so do check us out on the website, on social media. We'll be back next Monday. You take care. Stay safe, everybody.